Okay, growers, we're back. You've just sent off your soil sample to have it tested. And generally when you send the soil sample off, the lab will give you a sheet that will ask you what is it that you plan to grow. When you get the results back, a good lab will basically give you a breakdown of things like your soil pH. They may do things like friability, drainage, porosity, and then they'll give you a breakdown of macronutrients already in the soil, like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Then they will look at what it is you told them you were going to grow, and they'll make recommendations from there. They may say things like, okay, your soil, your pH is fine, your friability is fine, your phosphorus is fine, you're a little low in nitrogen, we want you to add 10 pounds of nitrogen per acre. And that will be written down, and they may tell you your phosphorus is high, don't put any fertilizer that contains phosphorus. If you're growing specialty crops, if you told them you were doing something like grapes, they may tell you your nutrient level is fine, but because grapes require boron to stay healthy and produce healthily, you should add X amount of boron to your soil. So this is the only way, again, that we know, we being you or I know, how to make recommendations on your soil nutrient level. Because without knowing that, we're really trying to drive the car blind. You may say, well, okay, can I put some fertilizer? Oh, sure, you can throw some fertilizer on, but again, you may be going over the line on certain nutrients, or you still may be deficient in other nutrients. If you're going to put the time in all summer, weeding, planting, watering, fertilizing, take the time, and I think most tests will probably, will run you $20 to $30 for a good comprehensive test that will answer all of those questions and put you in the best spot to have an optimal garden. Get the soil tested. If you're putting in a brand new garden in the form, say, of a raised bed, you have choices of putting in top soil, which can mean a lot of different things. Very often it's loam that has been garnered from a construction site that's then been screened, most of the organic matter is taken out of it. It may have a good structure, but it may be almost totally deficient and lacking both the key and the micronutrients that your plants are going to need. So you may have a nice looking dark soil, but the plants may not be able to grow very well in it at all because there's no nutrient load. Most places where you can buy soils now will have mixes that they call super compost mixes. They will be a mixture of a commercially produced compost and a topsoil, and along with that, the state will generally require that they give you a sheet that will tell you things like porosity, pH, nutrient loads. This is a good way, if you're going to buy soil, this is a good route to go because it's a lot more, the potential is a lot higher that you're going to get a mix that you can actually grow in. It doesn't mean it's going to be optimal, but you're starting with a mix that probably has a reasonably good nutrient load in it. If you're dealing with an older garden that has been established, the rule of thumb with any garden is that every fall you put on a 3 to 4 inches of a well-worked compost to replace the nutrient charge and the organic matter that has been used up in the summer by the plants. Because you've got to look at a garden, whether it's in the ground garden or a container, that the soil that plant is growing in is basically a bank account. It's a nutrient bank account. When you first plant the plant, there's a certain level of nutrients deposited in that, either the soil or the container. That plant, all through the season, is taking nutrients out of that bank account and using those nutrients to produce leaves and flowers and fruit. And then you pull that plant up and throw it away. That bank account of nutrients is now far lower, the value of it, than it was at the beginning of the year. So that if you plant again next year without redepositing nutrients into that account, your quality and the productivity is just going to keep going down and down and down, because you no longer have the optimal nutrient load. So we have to replace the nutrient load. Every fall in a established garden, a 3 or 4 inch layer of a well composted mix that you then turn in, that again will recharge that bank account. So outdoor gardens, test. Once you get an idea of what the load is, every fall, add composted material to keep that account of nutrients as high as possible within the soil. So outdoor gardens. We'll come back to how do you feed through the season in a minute. If we look at growing in a container, we have a very different situation. If we're growing in a container, we will take some type of a grow medium. It could be a soil-less medium like a Lambert's that I use and most commercial growers use, that has peat moss, perlite, vermiculite, pH stabilizer, but no nutrient charge. Or we can use a mix that has a nutrient charge, something like a Coast of Maine or a Fox Farm, Ocean and Forest 707, that has a nutrient charge in it. We'll come back and look at those in a minute, because we're going to do a whole video too on growing in containers, and this is probably the number one issue, is what do I use as a grow medium to put into that container. So now let's look at what happens when you get your soil test back from whatever lab you had tested, and the lab tells you, okay, you need to put 20 pounds of nitrogen on. Sometimes they'll say per acre. Not many people are going to have acre size gardens, so we'll show you how to work around that. One of the most common fertilizers people will use, people that don't test the gardens even, is something like a 10-10-10. Now these fertilizers come in all sorts of different number combinations. What the numbers are on any fertilizer, whether it's in a bag or a bottle in a liquid or in a small bag, the 3 numbers represent the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium content within that bag. So a 10-10-10 in a bag like this means that 10% of the weight of this bag is in the form of nitrogen. This is a 50-pound bag, so 10%, 5 pounds of this entire bag is in the form of nitrogen. If your test comes back and says, we want you to put 10 bags on, or 20 pounds per acre, and you're using a half of an acre, obviously if they want 20 pounds per acre, you need to put 10 pounds on for your half-acre garden. So you know that 1 full bag has 5 pounds, so you would have to scatter 2 full bags. If they told you they didn't want any phosphorus or potassium because you got plenty in it, instead of buying a 10-10-10, you buy a 10-0-0. These come in almost as every number that you can imagine, because different soil tests and different crops will require and suggest different formulations. So this is all you need to know. You look at your test. If they tell you, I want 20 pounds of nitrogen, but only 10 pounds of phosphorus and 5 of potassium, then you just need to, instead of buying 10, 10, 10, you buy the configuration that's correct. You can buy 0, 20, 0. That's no nitrogen, no potassium, and just a phosphorus. You can buy 0, 0, and any number on the end. So with your test, all you have to do is look at the test, and if you're unsure of it yourself, then either call or come into Blue Seal, or you can get in touch with me through them. It's a very simple process. They tell you the number. We can make a very quick evaluation off of here and tell you exactly you need 1 bag, 2 bags, 3 bags of this particular formulation per acre or half acre. We can do the calculations, and then when you start your garden for the summer, you will know that you'll be right where you want to be for the crops that you're growing in terms of the nutrient profile. So doing your outside garden is quite easy. Brand new garden, soil test. You're making raised beds, at least get a super compost that will give you a sheet that will give you the nutrient breakdown, so that we can look at it and give you an idea if you need anything. And test. It's probably the best $20 or $30 you're going to spend in your gardening career. Test. You'll know exactly what to put on. Very simple. This stuff is inexpensive. The calculations are very easy. We can get you dialed right in and help you get your optimal production out of your garden. We're about at the end of this second section, so I will see you back here momentarily.